It's almost a minute. We're going to get started in a minute, and I will show you some cool things that I'll be using and talk about some things that have been made by other artists that are part of the design team at Gelli Arts. There are loads of great ideas. I see that it's noon, so hello and welcome. I am Mansi from Mansi Makes on Facebook, and I am going to be showing you a lot of cool techniques today with the mini plates. You might have seen a lot of people use the 5x7 or the 8x10 plates, but my favorites, especially now that I am in a rental situation, have to be the Gelli Arts mini plates. This is what I'm talking about. It's these little tiny plates, and you can actually buy them online using the discount code that's on the screen right now. So I love this one, the Quatrefoil, and then there's the Octagon and the Diamond. And these come in a set of 3s. There are different shapes. There's also the oval, the circle, the square, and you can look up all of them on the Gelli Arts website. It is amazing to me that they have been open and they're shipping during this COVID-19 situation, so you don't have any wait time. You can just go online, purchase your supplies. There are also kits that are very, very handy that I love. So when I was starting out, I actually bought a lot of Gelli Arts products last year when I got into gel plate printing. I had no idea what gel plate printing was. It just looked really fascinating when I saw some of Birgit Koopson's videos on Instagram, and decided to buy some kits, decided to buy all the plates. So I have the 8x10, the 5x7. Didn't know what I was getting into, but I just loved watching the videos. So I figured, it's something that I can do. And I just went and bought all of the supplies. The kits were especially handy. So these kits, like this Printmaking Starter Kit, it comes with everything that you would need. So it has the tags, it has these tags. Let me just see if I can grab. It has these tags. So you don't really have to purchase anything except the kit. You get the tags, you get the brayer, you get the paints. All of it is included. And then you just start off and make your thing. And there's a picture over here describing everything that's included in here. So you can see there's a square gel plate, there's the deli paper, the paints, the brayer, the tags themselves, and you can just experiment and make really cool tags. I also got the llama and the flamingo kit, and those were really cool to make party invitations for a kid's party. So lots of really good stuff on the Gelli Arts website. Another thing that I'll be using today for my prints are these, I don't know what these are called. Sarah might know. Sarah's here moderating the comments, so if there are any questions, she will answer them. And they look like scrapers to me, but they make really cool patterns. And I'll be using these today so you can see these in action. And then I'll also be using this Punchinella. This also comes in one of the kits, and this makes for really cool effects. There's a way of layering this on the plate. There's a way of putting this on the paper that you're printing on, both of which will lead to very, very different effects. So if you didn't know, another thing that attracted me to this company was that it is 100% US made, and it's a woman-led, woman-owned business. And there are so many platforms that you can support, but empowering women through crafting and empowering a woman-led business, that's another advantage you get with using Gelli Arts products. And they're now available at Michael's, which is amazing, isn't it? It's just totally amazing that they're available at Michael's. So if you happen to go out and about, you want to use your Michael's coupons to save some more, then go to Michael's and get them. You can also buy them from Blake, and of course online at Gelli Arts, which if you shop today, or any day actually, you can use MansiB. It's a 10% discount code. And you can always find more inspiration on the Gelli Arts blog, as well as the Gelli Arts website. There are lots and lots of videos that are available for free for you to look at. And with homeschooling these days, I'm finding that I am looking at more and more videos to get inspiration for myself, for my child, and these are all safe, non-toxic plates that are perfectly fine to use with kids. I actually used to do summer workshops up until last year, and I was planning to do some this year too, but I won't be doing them anymore. I probably will be doing some online, but I was doing them with little children as young as 3 years old, and they had a blast. I actually ended up learning more from them about how to be free, and they're so creative, and they just, do their thing. So it's fantastic to let kids play with a gel plate. It's really amazing to see what they create. And I did a workshop where I had little kids come with their moms, and they made amazing stuff. The kids actually made more amazing stuff than the moms did, I must confess. So it's a lot of fun. So there's a lot of inspiration that you can find there. If you're homeschooling this summer, especially with summer coming around, you'll have to look for ideas and what to do with the kids. And I guarantee you that finding some tips on the Gelli Arts blog will be a lifesaver, and also the YouTube video channel. And I hope you have some fun doing that. So what am I going to do today? So I showed you these little mini plates that I'm going to be using, 3 of them, the Octagon, the Quatrefoil, and the diamond. And I make a lot of cards, so that's what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how to make abstract backgrounds that you can use to then make cards. So for example, something like this, and I use fluorescents, and I'll be using fluorescent colors today. And I have not used fluorescents before because, it's like, who does fluorescents? Neon colors are not like my thing. But I realized that for these, they just make everything look so happy, and with graduation coming up, I just thought this would be a cool color scheme to use, bright, happy colors. So I made one of these, and I made just a generic card that you can send to someone if you're missing them. Again, you can see the Octagon plate being used in this one. Then I have a very simple card. This is again with neon colors, but you can see it's a more muted neon tone, and it's a very simple Here For You card. I've been making and sending cards out like crazy. I send about 20 cards a week these days. This is again another, you can see the the Quatrefoil plate in this one. You can see the entire print over there, and then I just did a die cut with the word smile. This is with the diamond shaped gel plate. I just love how colorful this is. It really doesn't need much, you just make a colorful background, you put on a sentiment, and it's just amazing. And another one that was really festive is this. And this actually I got 2 cards out of. So when I die cut the yay, the holes that were left behind in that print I used to make this. So 2 cards out of 1. And I don't waste anything. So whatever I cut out when I trim my gel plate prints, I use those as borders, as you can see in this one. I always use my borders. I do not waste, I do not throw away. There's nothing like scraps when it comes to gel plate printings. So that's the kind of thing that you can do. And if you haven't noticed, which side is it? I'm wearing my clip. This was also made with the gel plate and the small one, the small circular one, and I had so much fun making that, and that blog post is up on the Gelli Arts blog spot, actually, the Gelli Arts blog page. So without further ado, we can get started. So I think I'm just going to turn the view onto my second camera so you can see an overhead. And I have an acrylic block over here, so I can use the acrylic block for putting my plates. So I just peel them off. This is the acetate that it comes with. So I peel it off, and then I just stick it on here. And then that becomes easy to like lift up and then just stamp on. So you can use that if you have that. If you don't, then you can just press your paper onto this and lift the plate, the print off like you would traditionally. Okay, so I'm just taking out my acetate lining from all 3 of these, the Octagon, the diamond, and the Quatrefoil. And these are the colors I'm planning to use today. So I have my brilliant blue, fluorescent orange. And again, if you're not a neon person, don't feel like you have to use these today. You absolutely don't. Use your color schemes, but I just wanted to make some happy, bright, happiness-inducing colors. And so I decided that I would use all my fluorescents from Liquitex. And brand really doesn't matter, but I do find that Liquitex basic acrylics, which aren't the professional grades, so they're not that expensive, they're very moderately priced, but they just have this amazing pigmentation that shows so vividly, as you can see in the prints that I was sharing earlier. So you can see how vivid the colors are. And it's just amazing to me that fluorescents can do that so well. Okay, so we are going to first, and I don't want to do any whites or blacks today, because you might have seen lots of videos where people use white and black prints for textures. The reason I won't do that today is because you will see that this itself, by itself, is such a beautiful shape that it just creates its own drama. You know, you don't need any white or black to do that for you. So I'm going to take just a little smidge of my blue and just brayer it on. Of course, this is a lot of blue so this is what I normally do when I'm using the smaller plates. So I had extra blue over here. I'm going to be making 2 prints at the same time, you'll see. Just one of those tricks I just do not like to waste anything. So just kind of brayering it on both at the same time. If there's still excess, I just brayer it off to the side on my paper, which I also don't throw away. Everything is usable, and crafting is so zen. It's especially the gel plate, because you do something zen, you end up making a card for someone, and you're just spreading joy all around. So just taking this is my pre-cut sheet. This is 4 1/4 by 5, and I get paint everywhere like that. So that's just how I do it. Just placing it on. And you can make so many different patterns. I like to cover up my entire sheet with the stamp. I do have my baby wipes handy so that I can just make sure that I wipe that off. We're just going to start with basic solids so you can really get to appreciate the shapes, and then I'll start adding texture. Now, since I have this octagon lying around over here, I'll just do the flip method since I don't have an acrylic stamp under it, and just line it up to the top, get a half print, or a little bit more than half. And I like to use these that I then place onto my cards, because as you can see, I dirty them really fast. So there, we got a nice clean print over here with this, and I'll just flip it over and use this because, you know, there's paint there and I don't like wasting. Okay, so we've got our first basic color down. Now, 2 options here at this point. You can either layer on a second color and you'll get a lift, your blue will lift off to your transfer, or you can wipe it clean. I usually don't wipe it clean. I like to have colors mixing together because, you know, now when I put a fluorescent yellow on top, it'll give me a nice shade of green. I'm just using primary colors, except for the one exception of orange. Brayering off the excess paint from my brayer, it will actually start becoming green right there. You can see it's like a pretty neon color. And then doing the same thing where I flip it over and I'm doing kind of an intersection. Stamp it on. The acrylic block really makes it easy to stamp it on, and you can see how it lifted parts of that blue that was the underlying color. And then I'm just going to keep going, and you'll see some intersections happening over here that make it really fun. Now, if you want, at this point, you can add some textures. I am just intending to make this my plain, basic plain color, so I'm not doing any patterns on top. Also, if you have any questions as I'm doing this and you're typing them in, please know that Sarah will respond to them. I will get a chance to read all the comments after the live video has ended, and I will be able to respond to any questions that are particularly directed to me. At this point, I feel like it's going to start becoming brown. The next color that I do, so I'm just going to wipe the plate. I'm just using regular baby wipes, nothing special. You can also, if you don't have baby wipes, just take a paper napkin and wet that, and you can just clean your plate that way. So the next color I'm going to use is a fluorescent pink. And you see, these paints, they go a mile. You don't need a lot, just a little blob. And I noticed that when the kids were doing this, when I was doing the workshop with little kids, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years old, they don't care about putting less. paint. They don't care about blurring. They just go for it. And the patterns they created as a result were really interesting because they had such fun blobs of color. And it almost became like a mixed media piece with some of theirs. See how beautiful the intersections are becoming? That's really cool, I think. It'll make for a very nice pattern. Okay, so we're gonna use that space over there to do some red. Again, the fluorescents, still sticking to my fluorescents. I do wanna show you some deco art color shift colors also. They're more like a transparent sheen on any of those other prints or colors that you already have. But I'll share that as well because you can get some really cool effects with those. Okay, so now I just want to have some more red over here, so I'll just add that to the corner. Make an intersection over there. I don't really have a particular pattern in mind. It's just an abstract background that I'm creating and making sure to fill up all the nooks and crannies, so to speak, so that there isn't any plain white sticking out. And the reason I do that, even if I don't end up using, I might trim the edges, but I do use the borders, as I showed you earlier in one of my examples. So I like to cover the entire page with color. I'm going to do some more blue and see if it gets me a purple, since I just used red. Might get me a tinge of purple there. And again, brayering is something that is so relaxing just in and of itself. I could just brayer for days and not have to think about anything. That's going to be an interesting patch that just got left on the plate. If you can see, there's a thick patch over there. But it's all fine. Art is not something that I stress about. Gel plate printing is especially not something that I stress about, because no matter what you do, you are going to end up with a very unique print that even you can't recreate. So there really isn't anything right. There's no right way of doing this. There's no wrong way of doing this. Your way of doing it is the way of doing it, really. That's all there is to it. Just enjoy the process and think of it as something that you're doing for your own zen. And I think this will be the last print on this page over here. So you can see we just covered it up. It's just random colors joined together, but it still looks happy. It's a happy print. And so now what we're going to do is I'm going to do a texture on top of this, just to show you how you can layer. This is already giving a very layered look, but to enhance the layers even further, I'm going to use this, the punchinella that comes with any of the Gelli Arts kits. And I'm just going to use this color shift. It's a yellow flash. It kind of changes color, so it becomes like a lime green when it's used. And you just have to have it catch the light just right. And you know, when we moved to this rental, most of my stuff, this paint I think is dry. I haven't used it in a while. Most of my stuff I had to put in storage, so I really had to think about what I could take with me, what I could bring with me to the rental. And I got all my gel plates, and I got all my textures. Did not leave any of that behind. Can't live without this stuff. So I'm just going to do this. This is kind of a reverse print technique where I'm going to place the texture not on the plate, but on the print, and then I'm going to stamp over it. And I'll show you when you do it on the plate itself how the effect is different. So just stamping it over, and you'll see it shine because it's a kind of a metallic sheen to it. And you see how that left a print on the plate that we can now use also. So I'm going to lift this up, and it's very, very subtle. But when the light shines just right on it, it's just amazing. So that's the flash. That's what the flash does. And I'll do a more clear example of that on a clean sheet of paper. So I'm going to set that one aside, grab a new one. And I'll go ahead and use, some of my paints are really dry because I haven't had a chance to use them yet. But I'm hoping in summer, once school ends, and our crazy schedules end and we don't have as many Zoom meetings, that I'll be able to do more of this enjoyable stuff. So this time I'm actually going to put the texture on the jelly plate and just roll it in. This will be very, very subtle because it's such a light color. I'm going to start with the middle this time and just kind of go around it. So you see, you can see a bit of that shine. Isn't that pretty just by itself? I think you just cut that out and stick that on a card just by itself. It would be so nice. So to go along with that, I'm going to use the metallic gloss finish blue violet flash. And I think this might be dry too, so I'm just going to have to open it and scoop it out. You don't need a lot with these colors or with these plates. So you can be really frugal. And if you hear any background sounds, I did mention at the beginning of this video, I am using our kitchen space. I do not have a dedicated studio space yet, so it's all shared space these days with everybody at home doing their thing. So for this one, I wanted to use this texture over here that comes. These look like combs, little combs, and they have all of these serrated edges with different patterns that yield really cool results. So I'm going to use one of these, and I'm just going to go straight down the middle. And there, voila, you have stripes. I'm going to line that up. And I'll get a half a print here. So you see, and you can also see the color flash in that happening with the violet blue. For my next pattern, I want to use one of these again, but a different side. And this time I'm going to use the yellow color shift. And you can see just how easy it is to get different textures, and this will make for a very different background than the earlier one. Just brayering it on, and as you brayer these color shift paints, you'll notice that they look really light. They don't look very dark at all. For this one, I'm just going to do poking. I always tell my students who come to the in-person workshops, the kids, that think of the gel plate like your skin. So you don't want to poke it too much. You just want to poke it enough to leave an impression and not damage the plate. Patterns transfer on really easily onto this plate. I just love that subtle hint of green that's coming in this. So you could continue building on with this, do all the other sides and get a really cool background, but I also wanted to show you other shapes. I'm going to set this aside and finish this up later, and I will share an update on the blog about what I did with this, so you can see a final piece if you come back later this week. But I'm going to do another shape. We started with the octagon in this one, so I want to try to show you how we can layer on top of this with a different color and a pattern. So I'm just going to take my octagon and place it on the block, and I'm going to use a pink, the fluorescent pink. Brayer it on. I do keep a couple of brayers on my side because, you know, if one gets too contaminated and I haven't had a chance to clean it like I didn't right now, I need some more paint here, then I always have access to a secondary one. Sometimes I just forget to brayer off the excess paint. So for this one, I'm going to take this, whoops, I guess it's going to be a texture of its own, we'll see. And I'm just going to go up and down like that. It's just so fun to create these patterns, don't you think? It's like being a child again. I just get so much joy out of using my mini gel plates. And sometimes that happens too when the plate just falls off of the acrylic base, but you can just pull it off. I love that neon over there. That is so cool. I do want to fill that up, but I shouldn't have touched it. I do want to fill that up with a metallic, the color shift, yellow. So I'm just gonna go and squeeze a bit of that. Use my previous brayer that I was using for this color. Do a very thin layer and just position my stamp, my plate, right over the previous print. Press it down and lift it up. And now you have two colors with the color shift, which is really cool because you see the bit of green shining through and you see a bit of that fluorescent pink that I used. It's just so fun to do repetitive pattern making. I'm going to do some orange in this one over here since this seems to beg for an orange right there. Kind of staying in the same color family on this side, and then we'll do a contrasting one. I think I might let the blue just be by itself so that I can stamp on a sentiment. I actually start envisioning cards as my base prints start coming together. So I kind of know, like when I was doing the diamond one that I showed earlier, let me see if I can find it. I kind of knew that I didn't want to mess with the pattern. I wanted this pattern to be like the highlight. It was so festive to begin with, and I just put on a sentiment and some stars, and that just completed the card. And it's so festive and so just happy, just really happy. So I'm envisioning I will leave that blue over there and put a sentiment, because that's going to be my color that stands out from the rest of this color family. Notice that I did not do a texture on this because I'm going to do a second layer, and that's going to be the layer with the texture. I am going to wipe this because I do want a very clean second layer on this. And for that second layer, I am going to use some purple. So again, this is the color shift, purple. Got a nice base color on there already. And for those of you who have always wondered how to use these mini plates, this is helpful, I hope, but you should also have a look at the YouTube channel for Gelli Arts, because there's tons of videos from Marsha, and she actually, I was going to put texture on this, she actually has a series of videos on the mini plates on how you can make repetitive patterned paper with larger sheets. It's she has 10 different ways, 15 different ways of using these. So have a look at that. I'm just going to flip this over without rolling the color on and stamp it at the same spot that I had it earlier. And that should leave a really cool texture behind that I can then lift off. See how it has that texture left behind? How awesome is that? That just makes me smile. And I'm not going to waste that, so I'm going to use that with, I think I'll do a fluorescent yellow over here. And again, there really isn't, I do want to emphasize, especially for those who are new with gel plate printing, I do want to emphasize there is no right or wrong way of playing with your gel plate. Just play with it. You know, you'll see what you like, you'll see what you don't like. Just have fun, just let it do its thing. That's how I learned. I just decided to buy it without knowing anything about gel plate printing, and suddenly I was discovering new things, and of course looking at all the videos and getting help where I could, from Burgett's Instagram feed and Marsha's Instagram feed and Tanya's, and then there's Geogocraft, lots of people sharing their very, very cool techniques and tips. But then I also started doing things that were my own, and that's how I got invited to be part of the Gelli Arts artists, and I couldn't believe it the day that I got the email inviting me to become part of the artist team, because I was like, wait, what? These are people that I worship, and I actually get to hang out with them. It was really cool. So as you can see, there's a variety of different backgrounds that can be made with these, and you know, you can turn them into cards, you can turn them into tags. I'll do another one with the diamond shape so you can see how that looks. And we'll go texture heavy in this one. So we'll do layers and textures for all of them. We won't leave anything blank. So that's my diamond on here. And for those of you joining in just now and are interested in purchasing these plates, you can log on to gelliarts.com. I just put the link up there. And you can shop to your heart's content, and they will ship right away. They are shipping. They're 100% US made, and it's a woman-owned business, which I'm very proud to be associated with. So use the code MONCB to get your 10% discount. Don't forget that. Always good to save some money. So for this, I'm just using one of these combs again, and I'm just going to swipe through. I'll do some verticals. Verticals actually don't make sense, do they? Because it's just becoming one stripe. Okay, so let's do horizontals, because then you can really see the texture. And going to start with the middle again, and then kind of work my way through to the sides. And you know, sometimes when I was starting out, when I would look at something like that, I would go, oh, that is just so wrong. That was not my intent. I don't like that. Why did it have to be all mixed up color? I have learned to appreciate it so much more now after having done all of these prints for over a year. It just makes it just gives it character. It just makes it more you. It's what makes it unique. So, you know, and that's something to remember and treasure. I'm going to use another one of these, and this time I'm going to go a little wavy. And we're going to just stick it on right there. I'm just going to keep going around. I'll do a blue over here. And I'm not cleaning the plate in between, as you can see this time. Brayer it on, got too much again. I don't know why that happens with my blues, but that means that I end up with a lot of scrap paper. That has a lot of blue tones that I can then use for other things. So again, nothing to worry about, nothing to stress over. This is playtime. Have fun with these plates. They're very forgiving. For this one, let's try one of these broader sides here. And these are also available on the Gelli Arts website. All the products I'm using are available on the Gelli Arts website, except I think for this acrylic stamp. I may be wrong, Sarah, correct me if I am. But yeah, you can buy all of these things online. Isn't that cool? You know, I frequently stop and admire my own work, and it's not because I want to admire myself. It's because of what the plates are doing. It's just so amazing. It's fantastic to just see how this kind of evolves and takes shape and becomes its own thing. I'm going to use an orange on top of that blue. And don't be afraid of making mud. I made a lot of mud early on, and I learned to love it. So I know brown and blue and orange usually make mud, but look, got specks of orange right there with the blue. This one has enough texture from the previous couple of layers that I'm not adding more texture to it, and I love that hint of orange. I do want to save a bit of this, so I didn't press down hard where the paper ended, so I was able to preserve a bit of this because I'm going to use this on the other side, the opposite side. And you can see how my brain is working. I'm already developing a pattern in my head, thinking about how I can use this as a card. Now, the other cool thing about these mini plates is that because you're using the acrylic stamp and pressing on like a stamp, you can just go back to that same spot if you didn't have a clear print the first time and get a darker print. Okay, still not going to clean my plate because I do want you to see how not cleaning the plate yields different results, because it picks up everything that you've done before. See how beautiful that blue is, that green from the blue and the yellow. For this one, let's do some simple piercing. Don't actually pierce your plate, just press down hard enough that you get an impression. I'm just going to stick that in here. And again, I'm going to press down on this side of the plate more than the bottom side because I can use the bottom on the other side. And sometimes this happens too, you know, to the best of us. It didn't print a very clear print like I thought it would, but it does still have some texture. You can see the print, the impression on the plate. So I'm going to see if I can get a more clear pattern on this side. When I smudge down too hard, it kind of expands the plate and it bleeds into the previous print. So that's again something that you can do on purpose. If you do that accidentally, you can say you were doing it on purpose too. It doesn't matter, that print is going to be still very unique to you. No mistakes. So I'm just trying to see where my next placements should be and what colors I should use. I haven't used any red, so I'm going to go for some fluorescent red. I don't think I got enough of it. It's hard to assess sometimes how much you need. I would say err on the side of being frugal. Put less paint on first. If it's too less, you can always add more. If it's too much, you'll be wearing it off quite a bit for a long time. Okay, for this one, let's use this. So this is from almond milk that my daughter drinks. It's just the lid. And I like to use, I have a whole cardboard box full of stuff, random household stuff. Like, you know how kids collect things for their recycle projects? I collect textures for my gel plate printing. Just gonna go over here, get that in there. Just kind of going around, filling in the gaps. Again, it looks like nothing right now. I will share the examples of the finished pieces again once I'm done with this print. So you can see what you can make off these, even though they might not look like anything right now. Now this is really bothering me because this is all white and there's so much color around. To me, I can't envision making a card out of this quite yet. So I'm just going to place this here and again do my dots. And I think I will do it with one of the, I think I'll do it with my color shift yellow. I seem to really gravitate toward this. Only because it has a very subtle sheen about it. It's not in your face. It's very, very subtle, but it's so pretty. Okay, so just brayering off the excess onto the side. I do like to line my table up with a roll of paper before I do any of my gel plate printing, because then I don't have to hunt for paper to brayer off the excess paint on. I can just brayer it on my table. And then whatever prints I get, whatever textures I get, whatever color combinations I get, I'm able to just cut those off and use them for cards. Ooh, I think I'm gonna like this. Isn't that cool? It just changed the whole character of the card. And I got some really cool things over here that I want to use. I don't want to waste those. So I'm just gonna go over this, see if I can capture some of that. Now it feels more complete to me. So here I'm gonna switch over so that you can see me. And I'm wearing my Gelli Arts apron. I did want you to notice that. I just love it. So here's one of the prints we made. And here's another one that is a work in progress that I will be working on more later. And then we did one with the Octagon plate, and we did another one with the Quatrefoil. And again, what you can do with these is that you can make cards like these. You don't have to have fancy die cuts. If you don't have fancy die cuts, don't worry about it. You can simply take your background. You can cut a strip of black paper and handwrite. These are pre-cut sentiment strips from Simon Says Stamp, but you can just handwrite. I mean, that gives it its own character. You can also do something like this. So there's lots of variations, and these are just fun colors and cards and textures, and the plates just make it so easy because they're small. They're just easy to handle. And it doesn't have to be fun cards. It can also be sympathy cards or just here for you cards that you could make. You can also make tags. If you have die cuts, you can use those. You can also just cut out borders. Just cut out strips, add some texture, and you can make cards with that. There are so many things that can be done with these beautiful little mini gel plates. And they're so accessible and they're so fun to use. Your imagination is really the only thing that you need along with these tools. And I do encourage you to visit the Gelli Arts YouTube page and the blog page so you can get more ideas. There's tons of videos and resources over there. I also have a YouTube channel where I go live on Fridays at 2 o'clock my time, Pacific time, and I do a 30-minute in-depth demo on a technique. And this Friday I'll probably be doing more gel plate stuff. You might actually find me finishing up some of these cards that we did today. So if you want to join, do join me on YouTube on Friday at 2 o'clock Pacific time. And if you'd like, you can follow me on Facebook. I will be announcing some classes, one-on-one art time with me in my newsletter. So there's a pinned post on my Facebook page. It's facebook.com/MansiMakes, and I will be announcing the dates soon in my newsletter. And if you subscribe to my newsletter, I send you a link that you can request a free handmade card from me that you can keep for yourself, or you can send it to someone you love. And then there's my Instagram, also MansiMakes. So don't forget to use the MansiB, the 10% discount code. And I hope that you have a lot of fun, and I hope this was helpful, and you continue crafting. Thank you so much for having me here and for spending a bit of your Wednesday afternoon with me. Happy crafting!